Hello, my dear friends. Welcome back to Elena's Bar Low Impact Full Body Workouts. My name is Elena. I'm the founder of Elena's Bar and I'm also a fitness instructor for those of you who don't know me yet. Hi, and welcome to Elena's Bar. I'm teaching live yoga classes on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 7:15 a.m. PST. So all you need to do is to join me for the time of the class, and I will lead you through a pretty cool flow. Let me know before each class how you're doing, how you're feeling, so that I can direct these classes towards your fitness goals. In today's video, we are going to talk about femininity and how to be more like a woman and not to compete with men. How to communicate with men, okay, and why it is important for women to embrace their nature, our female nature. We will be diving into the statistics. I can barely call it a statistics. It's not actually a study. I've read a lot of studies. I'm not going to showcase them here in this video because it's going to take us, oh my gosh, many hours. I found a very interesting presentation which summarizes some of the statistics of attractiveness, and I'm going to show it to you guys. We are going to talk about male attractiveness versus female attractiveness, what those two genders are attracted to, and I'm going to share this slide with you. So please stay around with me till the end of this video. I promise to you it's going to be quite interesting. Okay, now I'm going to share the slide with you. First of all, I need to find where it is. Keep forgetting. Every single time I do it, I keep forgetting where it is. Okay, hold on a second. I need to open it here. Not yet. Not yet. I know. I'm slow. Here you go. I hope you can see it. Let me zoom it for you. We are going to cover this presentation, so just follow along with me, okay? And let me know what you think about the topics, okay? It's certainly not true that there is, in the mind of man, any universal standard of beauty with respect to the human body. In The Descent of Man and Selection in Relation to Sex by Charles Darwin. Look, this woman is very masculine, and this woman is very feminine. We are going to see the examples of arbitrary cultural standards, where each culture and each population has its own beauty standards. Just glance at it, okay? Arbitrary cultural standards for men. And here it begins. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, or is it? The standard claim is that conceptions of beauty are culturally determined and therefore arbitrary. Research over the last dozen years or so reveals that how we evaluate beauty in the human body appears to be based on a universal set of standards. Therefore, some conceptions of beauty are not culturally determined. And we are going to look at the universal beauty standards here. What is considered to be universally beautiful and attractive? In men, it's slightly above average height. So taller men are considered to be more attractive. Prominent cheekbones, large jaw, slightly above average upper body musculature. So men, work on your upper body. Waist to hip ratio of 0.9, waist of 90% of the hip. In relation to the hips, waist should be 90%. For women, it's different. Wrist and ankle symmetry. This is hard. Broad forehead, prominent brow, strong chin. Now let's look at women. The waist to hip ratio is of 0.7 or 70% of the hip. The waist for women should be narrower than the waist for men in relation to the hips. Smooth unblemished skin, firm symmetrical breasts, full lips. Small nose, large eyes, relevant to the face, delicate jaw, and small chin. Relative and absolute standards in attractiveness. Universal model holds that there are absolute standards that people use to assess attractiveness. Associative model, like attracted to like. when we are attracted to those who are similar to us, also known as positive associative mating. We will begin with the universal or absolute and follow with the associative or relative. Finally, most of the research has focused on female attractiveness. Let's dive in and look at the universal basis for female physical attractiveness. Are you excited? In general, symmetry, low fluctuating asymmetry, it also applies to males. Body form, waist to hip ratio of approximately 0.7, depending on the culture and depending on the population. Face, average, applies to males as well. Small lower jaw, nation to chin distance, the smaller the distance, the better. High upper and lower lips. Small mouth in terms of width. Large eyes. Light skin. Homogeneous skin texture, of course. Let's look at symmetry. We are going to check here the two pictures of man. Denzel Washington's face, which is considered to be quite symmetrical. It's very hard to find a 100% symmetrical person. If you manage to find one, please let me know in the comments, okay? And send me the picture of that person. I would love to see it. So let's look. The right and the left sides are matching here, pretty much. Lips are in one line, jawbone in one line, nostrils. Yeah, pretty good. Cheekbones in one line, inner eyes and pupils, and then we see the outer eyes and the eyebrows. He has a slight deviation of the eyebrow, right? And let's look at the picture of Lyle Lovett's face. Here is the real Lovett. And I quite like it. I actually don't mind a small deviation from the standard beauty uh, principle, okay? But I'm weird. I really find it more attractive with this slight deviation. But let me know which one you prefer. This is basically computerized option, the symmetrical Lyle that they've created. They just lowered his other side of the lip to match the left side. Yeah, let me know which one you find more attractive. Symmetry measures. The one is perfect, and then everything that goes above, it's not so much. So this guy is quite symmetrical, if you can see. He has the lip line, the nostrils are pretty much leveled, the eyes. So he got 2.6 score in the symmetry test. Pretty good. Then Bill Clinton, you see here, he's 3.2. He's less symmetrical because his face is sort of twisted to one side, and you can see it here, right? Then we see a woman here. She's quite symmetrical. You see, she got 2.6, very close to 1. And here, one more guy, pretty symmetrical too. There is a slight imbalance in the lips and also in the brow here, but it's still pretty good. It's better than Bill Clinton. Just so that you see here, right? Let's go further. What is your symmetry level? Let me know in the comments. Be honest, okay? This guy is special. He got 13 points. Physical development and symmetry are regulated by growth rates, hormone levels, nutrition. So eat well, maintain a healthy diet. It will help you with the symmetry. Disease. The level of symmetry is a measure of developmental stability. Developmental stability is an indication of an individual's ability to withstand generic and environmental stress during growth. High FA is very weakly and perhaps inconclusively associated with increased morbidity and decreased heterozygosity. It may be the case that modern medicine has broken the relationship between symmetry and health. Research needs to be done on populations with poor access to healthcare to evaluate their utility of symmetry as a sign of fitness. Okay, symmetry is positively associated with stature. Tall males, less asymmetrical, have positive association. So tall men with more symmetry are considered to be attractive. Okay, small females with less asymmetry have negative association with symmetry. So it doesn't actually apply with small women. They can be slightly asymmetrical. IQ, number of lifetime partners and reproductive success for males and females. And by lifetime partners, they mean all of the sexual partners you had throughout your life, not just serious relationships. Okay? Every single partner counts because all of these partners have DNA floating in their body, and the DNA can really damage you if there are too many. And after about 15 partners, a woman is unable to pair bond with a man. Running speed, aggression, and depression. Facial averageness. Computing averageness. Landmark points uses to create averaged composites. Lines have been added to illustrate how points capture the layout of internal features and the face outline, but only the points are actually used. You see here? Average composites of Caucasian and Chinese female in the top, and Caucasian and Chinese man at the bottom. Each composite is created from 24 faces. Let's briefly look at these faces that they used to create this generic face. Okay, evolutionary theory and prototype for Asian woman. Gender prototypes, effects of cognition, individual prototypes, heterozygosy effects. All of these faces were used to create this prototypical face of an Asian woman. Okay, and now we are going to look at Caucasian woman. The same. All of these faces were combined to create this prototype of a Caucasian woman. The same was applied to men. Okay, average plus reduced jaw and peaked lips lead to an even more attractive face. Let's look here. The average proportions. This computer-generated face has the dimensions of typical of Caucasian 20-year-old woman. You see she has quite wide jawline and wider chin, and the ideal proportions. Most visions of the perfect female face have small jaws and abnormally large lips. And also, if you see the nasal distance here, nasal to chin is shorter, so it makes a woman look more feminine. Okay, and it's considered to be more attractive. Averageness is associated with high levels of heterozygosity, which in turn is associated with enhanced pathogen resistance. That is, average-looking people tend to be healthier. But the effect is very moderate and needs further study, of course. Let's move on. Other factors associated with attractiveness: facial smoothness, skin coloration, and specific facial features. Facial smoothness, absence of blemishes and lines indicative of youth. In addition, skin darkens with age. Let's look at this woman. It's the same woman on the left and on the right. She was just retouched on the right to enhance her facial homogeneity, to remove all of the blemishes and the wrinkles. Tell me, which one do you prefer in the comments, okay? Male and female differences in skin color. Men are darker than women, result of heavier concentration of hemoglobin in blood and melanin in skin and thicker subcutaneous fat layer in women. Universally, men prefer women who are lighter than average. Of course, it's relative to the local population. And women prefer men who are darker than average, also relative to the local population. But one can be too dark or too light in local population. Of course, there are exceptions. right? Let's move on. Skin color and attractiveness. Frost reports that out of 51 different cultures in their human relations area files, 44 cultures favored lighter complexions on either only women, 30, or on both sexes, 14. In only 3 cultures was fair skin preferred on men only, and in just 4 cultures was darker skin desired in women. Do you see how different cultures have different ideas about what is considered to be beautiful? Male attractiveness, masculinity, and specific facial features. Let's look at them. Prominent cheekbones and longer lower faces are both judged as attractive in males. When these two factors are combined, a masculinity index is created, and this index is more strongly correlated with attractiveness than cheekbone or longer lower face alone. Finally, male facial symmetry and the masculinity index were correlated. Good. Feminine and masculine faces. Males favor women with feminine faces. Small chin and high cheekbones, fuller and more peaked lips, large eyes relative to the face, of course. Females favor males who are slightly to moderately facially masculine but not extremely so. Chins broader and longer, and large brow ridge. Body form, waist to hip ratio, it's crucial. Waist to hip ratio is a reliable index of age, hormonal status, parity, fecundity, and health. Before puberty, boys and girls have similar ratios. However, with females, pelvis widens and fat is deposited on hips and thighs at puberty. Healthy women have ratios of 0.67 to 0.8, while healthy men have 0.8 to 0.95. For attractiveness, ideal for men is 0.9 and female ideal is 0.7 for Western populations only. We are going to look at the other populations just in a moment. Okay, stay with me, guys. It's quite interesting. Waist to hip ratio standard stimulus test. Do you see here? It also depends on the size of the woman. We see here the waist to hip ratio of 0.7 or 70% of the hip is considered to be attractive. And then a woman is becoming more curvier, rounder, and one it's where the waist equals the hips pretty much. Okay, so based on this chart, let me know where you stand. Be honest with yourself, be honest with me. Okay, waist to hip ratio and female mate value. Waist to hip ratio increases with each pregnancy and increases slightly with age. It's important to realize that, especially for women, we are going to gain weight as we age. However, a 17-year-old will have nearly the same waist to hip ratio as a 22-year-old woman. And at menopause, it reaches the level of a male's waist to hip ratio, about 1. We are going to gain weight regardless. So it's very important for us, women, to take care of ourselves, take care of our body. Eat well, maintain a healthy diet, and exercise because it's inevitable. High waist to hip ratio is strongly negatively associated with the probability of conception and positively associated with age in the Western society. Do you see here? Men choose women who have lower waist to hip ratio because it's biology. It's positively associated with the probability of conception. It's easier to conceive babies with a lower hip ratio. Male and female evaluations are parallel, but males place gender emphasis on waist to hip ratio. Yes, men are going to judge females' waist to hip ratio more than women judge male waist to hip ratio. Let's look at average attractiveness rating here. 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is maximum, right? Let's look at men. Do you see it stands up here? Men tend to pay attention to how a woman looks, her waist to hip ratio, because it's the very important factor that plays an effect for conceiving babies. It's all about biology, guys. And women don't really care how a man looks. Well, at least not as much as men do. Waist to hip ratio and health correlates. High waist to hip ratio in women is a sign of menstrual irregularity, hirsutism, abnormal growth and distribution of hair in other parts of the body where a woman shouldn't have hair, elevated plasma, triglycerides, diabetes and insulin intolerance, hypertension, stroke, gallbladder disease, reproductive cancers, endometrial, ovarian, and breast. Do you see? High waist to hip ratio is considered to be what? Tell me. A sign of disease, huh? Waist to hip ratio and behavioral correlates in women. Positively correlates with age of first intercourse. Of course, if a woman has lower waist to hip ratio, she's going to start having sex sooner than the woman who is overweight, right? Or the woman who has higher waist to hip ratio. However, it negatively correlates with the number of lifetime sexual partners and extra pair copulations. So the attractiveness of a woman doesn't really affect the number of lifetime sexual partners she may have. She may have a lot of sexual partners because she is attractive and she knows it. And on the other side, she may have a few sexual partners. Okay, the examples of both figures have a 0.7 waist to hip ratio. The more things change, the more they stay the same. This was done earlier, right? She has a more profound waist, but maybe it's because of the clothing that she's wearing versus this girl. We see that her hips are more profound and the waist is narrower, I would say, than here. But they are considered to have the same 70% of the hip. And let's look at further examples of waist to hip ratios. Here, Venus de Milo, the object of art, she has 0.68 waist to hip ratio. And then Marilyn Monroe, the actress, she has 0.66. Her waist is more profound because do you see the number? It's slightly smaller, not by much, but also the type of clothing that she chooses to wear. It really resonates, right? Very appealing. Look at Sephie Loren. She has 0.68. She has slightly more waist to hip ratio than Marilyn Monroe, but the type of clothing that she's wearing, it really accentuates her waist and her hips, right? And look at Twiggy. She's wearing loose clothes, so it's quite hard to tell, but she's 0.69. And sometimes when women wear loose clothes, it's hard to see the waistline. And if your goal is to attract men and you have the curves to show wear the tighter clothes because men really like with their eyes. And it actually is a problem for them because they're quite single-minded. They love with their eyes. And look at Kate Moss here, the model. She's 0.68. She's wearing the A-line dress. She has a very good waistline, but again, it depends on what's your purpose. What are you trying to achieve here? See, her waistline is not as profound as Marilyn Monroe and Sephie Loren, although these two have the same waist to hip ratios. Let's move on. Is the waist to hip ratio of 0.7 a reflection of Western standards? Recent research by anthropologists reveals that a waist to hip ratio of about 0.8 is preferred in the following ethnic groups: Hadza, Shuar, Machigenga. Let me know if I pronounced it wrong, okay? Greater than 0.7 waist to hip ratio may be a consequence of living in a food-short environment, which suggests that men are concerned with energy status when it is relevant. For example, not relevant in the West, but relevant in tribal populations or hunter-gathering populations. Body mass index. Additional research in the West suggests that BMI is more important. The problem with BMI and waist to hip ratio is that they are strongly correlated with each other. Thus, it is unclear which is the signal of reproductive potential, right? It's very hard to differentiate between the two. Let's look here. BMI and waist to hip ratio and culture. Different cultures have different interpretations and different opinions of beauty. If you live in the Western society, you are judged by the Western criteria. So if your origins are from Africa or from India, your standards from those countries do not apply in the Western society. You have to comply with what is happening here and what men are looking for here in the West. Let's see here. The local conditions may matter. Poverty and hunger. People in rural South Africa are living in a low-resource, economically deprived society. 56% report going hungry, and most households do not have electricity, running water, or significant amounts of household durable goods. In South Africa, a higher female body weight is perceived to reflect affluence, high status, and good health. It's therefore not surprising that our results suggest a higher female BMI is regarded as attractive. In Africa and in India, maybe in the hunter-gathering societies, okay? Health problems. These preferences may be reinforced by the current health problems prevalent in South Africa. There are long-standing problems with infectious diseases, including lower respiratory tract infections, meningitis, diarrhea, septicemia, and tuberculosis, which, when combined with low levels of immunization, make potential infections a serious possibility. The health consequences linked to these serious diseases include weight loss, and this is reflected in the perception that a lower body mass may signal potential parasitic infection or disease. Do you see it? Okay, let's move on. Shoulder to hip ratio. Introduction to a male sign. Measurement. Hip measured as largest circumference around the hips and buttocks. Shoulder measured as greatest width of shoulder blades with arms at sides. Results. Men ranged from 1.03 to 1.4, mean of 1.18. It's the average, okay? Women ranged from 0.9 to 1.22, mean of 1.03. Shoulder to hip ratio in men behavioral correlates. It negatively correlates with age at first sexual intercourse. Narrow shoulders in men means later first sex. Okay? Positively correlated with reported number of sexual partners. If a man has wider shoulders, he is more likely to have more sexual partners. So men build up the shoulder strength, build up the musculature. The EPC, extra pair copulations, or cheating on your own partner. The broader the shoulders are, the more sex a man is likely to have. Height and attractiveness. In the West, males prefer females who are shorter than average, while females prefer males who are taller than average. In the West, tall men have higher reproductive success than shorter males, and shorter females have higher reproductive success than taller females. But in rural Gambia, this relationship seems not to work. Tall women had higher fertility and higher survivorship of their children, while taller men were only very slightly more likely to have higher reproductive success than shorter men. That's interesting. Huh. And you can read more in the study of sheer height and reproductive success, Human Nature of 2006. Height in Gambia. In Gambia, tall women are more reproductively successful, higher fertility than short women. There is no correlation between height and fertility among men. However, taller men contract more marriages than shorter men. No correlation between height and health for Gambian men, and for Gambian women the relationship is inverted U-shaped. Yeah, read more about the height and reproductive success, how a Gambian population compares to the West. Okay, let's move on to associative or relative models, self-seeking like. People marry those who resemble themselves, known as positive associative mating. We talked about it at the beginning. Right now we are going deeper. Correlations for most physical traits, height, weight, hair color, and etc. And many behavioral traits, interests, personality, and etc. Two potential explanations for this relationship. Optimizes outbreeding to avoid excessive generic variants that would interfere with co-adaptive gene complexes. And competition and matching hypothesis. Self-perception and mate choice in Western society. The standard evolutionary argument is that men are attracted to beauty, usefulness, sexual fidelity, and health, while women are attracted to men who are ambitious, wealthy, and have high social status. But as Meek and Kais note, you can't always get what you want. Thank you. Thank you for pointing it out, right? Potentials attract. This has led many to successfully predict that mate choice would be based on reproductive potential. That is, attractive women, for example, would match up with wealthy men. And it makes total sense because women want a man who can provide for them and for their future generation. The problem with this argument is that it ignores the problem of stability in marriage as a key to reproductive success. So, what it's trying to tell you is that the attractiveness of a woman doesn't guarantee their stability in a marriage because there are more components to it than just being attractive, right? Marital stability. Here we are going to look at it deeper. If mate choice were based on reproductive potential, then reproduction might be delayed waiting for an exceptionally beautiful or wealthy mate. And this is what we see happening right now. Men and women are waiting for the right person to have a family with, right? They are not in a hurry to marry. Furthermore, these marriages would be unstable if a more beautiful or more wealthy mate came along. It makes total sense, right? One would be tempted to trade up, and in most cases, this would be a woman because women, by their nature, we tend to marry up. Men tend to marry equally or down. Okay, let's look further. Relativism in mate choice. Women lower their self-assessed beauty when exposed to beautiful women, and men lower their self-assessed attractiveness when exposed to socially dominant males. This makes sense, right? The socio-sexual hierarchy, it's there. In addition, each sex lowers their assessment of the other when their mates were compared to more highly rated members of the opposite sex. For example, let's look at a couple, a man and a woman sees a more appealing and dominant man. So she's going to downgrade her boyfriend or her husband that she's currently with based on what she sees in that dominant man, right? The question: potentials attract. Are choices based on absolute criteria, beauty and wealth, or do likes attract, a relative criteria? How similar are they to the seeker in a number of crucial dimensions? That's a very good question. 10 questions asked that can be divided into 4 evolutionary categories: wealth and status, physical attractiveness, fidelity, that's very important for a stable relationship, and family commitment, it's also important for a stable marriage. Let's move on. The results have revealed that if the potentials model is correct, then attractive women would have had stronger preferences for wealthier men and vice versa. So women would be attracted to stronger men, while men would be attracted to attractive women. Right? This pattern was observed to be statistically significant, but it explained very little of the variance, around 5%. So the numbers didn't go from the mean too far. Okay? The results too. If the likes attract, then there should be a positive correlation between self perception, fidelity or attractiveness, and importance of that same factor in a mate. It's clear, right? We are trying to find a partner who resembles similar traits as we do. This pattern was found and the correlations were much stronger, about 35% for women who were trying to find the resemblance in their partners, and about 12% for men. Conclusions: human mate choice in Western society seems to be more strongly based on preference for long-term partners who are similar to one's perception of self across a number of evolutionary relevant categories of traits. Do you see it? It can be good and bad because women and men are not the same, and we shouldn't apply similar criteria when we are judging the opposite sex. That's the problem I see with this, okay? A final thought on beauty, similarity, and mate choice. And we are pretty much done here, guys. In the European Economic Area, potential mates are in short supply because females tend to be married immediately after puberty. This makes them valuable, and then they tend to pick up the best guys, right? Furthermore, the pool of potential mates is very small relative to modern populations. Consequently, to maximize fitness, males must marry the first available female or face the consequence of delayed competition. I would disagree with that because if you look at the male and female nature, as men mature, they grow, they acquire more status, more stability in life, more income, and this can be very appealing and attractive to women. So marrying the first woman who decides to have sex with you, it's a great advice for disaster because you can suffer and your future generation, your kids can suffer just based on the choice that you have made. So don't rush into marrying the first woman who has sex with you. Apply other standards than just attractiveness on women and ask women what can they bring to the table, if she is worthy of your time, of your efforts, of your money or not. This will help you to prevent very expensive mistakes. And in the end, this makes choice based on beauty or similarity difficult or impossible. We are done here. Now tell me what you think. As we've seen before, look at the male nature. As males mature, they grow, they obtain the value, they acquire more resources, they become more valuable. For them, finding a woman who is attracted to his resources is not going to be such big of a deal, especially in a sinking economy. A lot of women will become more desperate for more money. So men should be careful whom they choose to marry because their bad choices will reflect on the lives of their future children. Yeah, but at the same time, I agree that males should marry younger women if they are interested in having children, younger, healthier women. Yeah. It's not the first available woman out there because it doesn't necessarily mean that if the woman decides to sleep with you, she's the right woman to marry. Okay, you have a choice. There are a lot of women out there. The market for women is highly, highly competitive, and we don't just compete here inside the Western society. We compete all over the world. If you're not happy with this, women here, go out and explore and find a woman who will commit to you, who will follow your framework, and who will respect you, who will value their relationship with you, not just your resources. I'm not saying that all Western women are bad. No, it's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that a lot of women are very spoiled, and a lot of women don't want to put any effort into the relationship with the man. There are plenty of good women, and I know a few good women who are married to men, and they are in the Western society. They are mostly married by the age they hit 30. So, my advice for all the men or those men who haven't found their partner yet, if you are interested in the relationship, try to find a younger woman who is not yet completely feminist. It's going to be hard to come by, I understand, because feminism has spread out everywhere, and it's really hard to find a solid woman who is interested in the relationship. But they still exist. There are still a few women who are feminine women. And my advice for women is, instead of bitching and moaning about men, how men should man up, woman up, educate yourself how to be a feminine woman, work on yourself, exercise, watch your diet, and work on your personality. Cut down your list of demands and think about, what do you have to offer? What do you bring to the table? And don't say just sex, because men can get sex anywhere without getting married. There are cheaper ways to get sex for them. So what else? Think about it. What other values do you bring to the table? I hope this video was interesting. Sorry it took us long to go through all the stats, and it's not even everything, but it's a good summary to give you the idea and analysis of what is happening right now with the current situation. Also, guys, if you want to learn more about what is happening around the world and where we are headed, please read the book by Peter Zeihan, The End of the World is Just the Beginning. I'm going to give you the link to the book. You can purchase it on Amazon so that you can make better choices in your life and prepare yourself for what's about to come, especially single women and single mothers. It's going to be a very rough time. The economy, the way we used to have it, will evaporate. There will be no more time, no more money for bullshit, because men will have to take care of themselves first, and they have to be very careful with their finances. And if you don't adapt, if you are not flexible enough, again, there are 18-year-old models born every single day. What are your chances of winning? And fighting against the female nature is a waste of time. You will waste the best years of your time on nothing, and you will get nothing in return. If you haven't already realized it yet, by now, if you're single and all you have is so-called career, but you still want to be married, then you should be fine if you have career. Why do you need a man? You don't need a man if you have an established career and you make your own money. So just be single. Die alone, buy a dog. No, we can't resist the female nature because women still want more resources. Just admit it. You are nasty. We are nasty creatures. And men have to put up with us. Right? I understand, but that's the nature, So try to be nice to men, talk to reasonable men, talk to rational men, watch the videos by Kevin Samuels, and his conversations with other women who were overestimating themselves, let's say. Talk to rational men and ask them where you can improve and where you should improve. Ask what they think about you, because that's your objective value. It's not something that you come up with for yourself just because it feels good. No. If no men are interested in you, or the only men who are interested in you are the average man, then it means that you are just an average woman. And you should be happy where you are. So why are you not happy with the average man? Because you are just an average woman. If you are, I don't want to call names, but don't take it personally, okay? If you are fat, obese, and have huge problems with your health, why would a man want to marry you? Why? If you don't take care of yourself, nobody will. And when men have a choice to marry, oh, rest assured, they will find a beautiful woman. They will try to find. Again, not all men can and not all men will, but relying just on that is a very small, reduces your chances, you know. This is just how life works. It's statistics, it's biology, because men are still attracted to beautiful women. So become one. You can do it, and you don't have to even go to the gym to do it. You can start exercising at home, spend a few minutes a day, start slow, small, and then expand on that until you build up the self-care and the regime. Watch your diet, ask your dietitian for help. Maybe you should eliminate the sugars. That's your choice. Yeah, I hope this video was interesting, educational. Give me a like if I managed to challenge your belief system, guys. Don't take it personally, please. Okay? Don't hate me for that, please. I know a lot of people still will, because it's ideology. There is nothing you can do about it. It has to pass, and it will take years, if not decades, to get over it and overcome it. But yeah, the sooner you realize the reality, the sooner you will be able to make rational choices. So please educate yourself and become more feminine. I'll probably create another video for you guys, how to be a more feminine woman. It might be interesting for some of you. So stay on track. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you give me a like if you enjoy the content, and I'll see you in the next video. And join me for live workouts. Guys, they are free. I'm running free yoga classes. All you need to do is commit and work out. Take care of yourself. Don't waste your time. I hope to see you soon. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.